Thank you, Mr. Hockenbrock, and thank you to all my family, our administration, faculty, fellow graduates, and guests. Typical Shamokin. We've all heard it at some point. Perhaps we were the ones who said it. Either way, it's almost never spoken in a great context. I hear similar thoughts echoed all the time, both in school and out. I can't wait to get out of here. I'm sick of this place. This town's going to the dumps. Those are the ones without the curse words. I sort of understood where people were coming from. I also wanted to leave Shamokin one day, and each pothole I banged over on Lynch Street felt like another nail in the coffin of my car. But I couldn't shake the idea that something was missing. We had parts of the story, but the wrong ones. We were lacking a crucial element that made sense of everything. I was a bit lost, and for those of you who know me, I don't like that feeling. So I began to think. Going in, I knew one thing. Humans, no matter what they say, almost always act in their best interest. People usually put personal desires above all else. And what is the one thing we desire besides love, money, and food? An excuse to cry and moan about everything. The weather, the economy, politics, taxes, the neighbors, the in-laws, the cashier that bagged your groceries wrong, the cashier that bagged your groceries right but gave you a funny look the whole time, the guy in front of you who doesn't know what a turn signal is, 2 turtle doves and a partridge in a pear tree, ladies and gentlemen, you name it, we hate it. Quite frankly, it's hard not to. You flip on the TV and they tell you the stock market's going to crash in 3 months. 3 months go by, nothing happens. They come on again, they say, no. False alarm. The oil spill wasn't that big. But the market's going to tank in 4 months for real this time, so stay tuned. You open the magazine at the doctor's office, only to find your favorite actor's gone and died, the national security advisor's been thrown in jail, and they tell you why you need to be concerned right now, right this second. Information is shoved in our faces and down our throats 24/7, 365. And what do? We eat it up. People love scandal. People love controversy. People love dirt. People love dirt, and while I believe this is well known, I don't think it's well confronted. That is to say, most don't care to admit it. They say you catch more flies with honey, but crap is often just as sticky. There's a reason the most heartwarming stories are always pushed to the end of the news broadcast. It's not to leave off on a good note. It's because those stories are literally considered the least important things we should know about. As rock star Don Henley once said, we all know that crap is king. But it doesn't have to be. Kings run their course, they pass on, and if necessary, they can be dethroned. I'm not saying we should ignore our world's problems, our community's problems. I'm not saying we should walk around with blinders on. If anything, I suggest the opposite. I think too many of us, myself included, go about our daily lives failing to appreciate simple, good things that happen. At times like this, we must remove our blinders and be extra aware of the positives. So, how do we do it? I did some more thinking. We're taught from a young age to take responsibility for our mistakes. That's fine. But we're also told to brush off our accomplishments for the sake of nobility. Oh, it was nothing. No big deal. Anyone in my shoes would have done the same. It's designed to teach us to be humble. We all know that. And sometimes it works. Yet too often, I believe it's harmful. To me, it's a nice way of telling people that their greatest traits are inconsequential, that they should be dismissed, swept under the rug. When I was young, and I'm talking real young, people and teachers would approach my parents in the store or wherever and compliment me. Marshall, you're this, Marshall, you're that. Instead of thanking them, I responded each time by saying, I know. Now, I think younger me went a bit far and had a lot to learn. But I also think we can afford to strike a happy middle ground. Not dismissing our achievements, but not being consumed by them either. If we blow off our good deeds too much, positive things will begin to go unnoticed. They already are. It's not that too much bad news exists. All the good news simply goes unreported for these reasons. It's not that we're not happy. We often just don't want to be happy. But when it comes to Shamokin, there's a lot to be happy about. As Mr. Zahler and Mr. Hockenbrock said, this year we've had either state qualifiers, state medalists, or state champs in several sports. Chorus had district qualifiers, orchestra sent 3 to regionals, and the competition band, the pride of the coal region, placed 4th at ACCs. A group of us won the Bloomsburg Science Iditarod in April, first time ever. 3 students won the Daily Items Scholar Athlete of the Week award. Every year, we have a community cleanup pioneered by one of our own. More recently, one of my greatest friends ever painted a US map on the Annex Playground to become an Eagle Scout. We received $1 million, $1 million, that were placed in a newly established scholarship fund for Shamokin students, and we had a lucky recipient of $160,000 of that last night. On top of that, another $500,000 were donated to the Alumni Association. Both sums, by the way, came from past Shamokin graduates. Last summer, 2 people, one of them an Indian, saved a 10-year-old boy from drowning after he suffered a seizure at the Rock Street pool. This past month alone, we had 2 students place 1st and 3rd in different categories at a statewide media and design competition. Another group of kids rescued a man from an overturned car following a crash. Typical Shamokin. By the way, Lynn Street is also in the process of being paved, so no more potholes. For those who attended the alumni banquet a few weeks back, you know about this next part, but for those who didn't, Principal Hockenbrock made a speech toward the end of the dinner outlining a lot of the things I just said, the accomplishments of our students this past year. Between him and I'm sure there's around 6 million things we missed. He spoke for around 10 minutes, and if you're in front of a large crowd, 10 minutes might as well be a century. But that's good. It's good that it takes this long to list our school's achievements. I hope in the future, Mr. Hockenbrock has to speak for 15 or 20 minutes to cover it all. Maybe we can make a goal out of it. Accomplish so much that Mr. Hockenbrock has to add a minute or 2 onto his speech per year. People love dirt. It's time we cared more about the flowers that grow from it. We see what other school districts do. We hear the not so nice things they sometimes have to say about us. And we begin to think that it's us against them. Us against Mount Carmel, us against Southern, us against Danville, Schick, Lourdes, Lewisburg. An idea perpetuated for decades. In reality, it's been us against us the entire time. Our own negativity has held us back, a collective stereotype threat. It pains me to think thousands have lived and died within this area's limits without realizing something so simple. In order to fully love somebody, you must first love yourself. Justin Bieber said it, so it must be true. But this can be applied here. To earn the respect of other areas starts with respecting our own communities and the people in them. You don't need to apologize for being from Shamokin. It shouldn't be worn as some stain on your character. Does this city have its fair share of problems? Absolutely 100%, of course it does, and you'd be a fool to deny it. But there is no single issue present here that other communities do not also suffer from. This doesn't mean our problems aren't important, it just means we aren't alone. If you ask someone what they believe makes Shamokin bad compared to other areas, they'd likely say drugs and poverty, which is something every single town in America struggles with. Is every single town in America bad? No. If you take anything away from what I say tonight, let it be this. There is no dark, unseen, evil force hovering over Shamokin. It doesn't penetrate your bedroom walls at night and make everything horrible. Shamokin is not a bad place. It is a good place with so many great people that has fallen victim to bad attitudes. The cure is confidence. Confidence in your town and others, and most importantly, in yourself. We live in a world plagued by anxiety. You walk into a store and there's 200 different choices for anything you want to buy. You do your best to stay trendy, keeping up on shows and movies and sports, but no matter how hard you try, there's always some stupid thing you miss out on. It's enough to stress anyone out. In such a world, being confident often gets you branded as cocky. People aren't used to self-love. Fine by me. I'd rather love myself than hate myself any day of the week. Having supportive friends is also key, and a huge shout out to the boys for always being just that. Be confident in your abilities, in your worth as a human being. If you accomplish great things, practice humility, but never, ever brush them off as no big deal. If you're out somewhere and you hear someone bad-mouthing our town, don't turn around and give them an earful. Don't scream, don't shout, don't let it all out. Simply ask them what makes them feel that way, and I guarantee you 9 times out of 10, they will give you abject nonsense as an answer. If you press them hard enough, whatever they say can be boiled down to BS stereotypes that they themselves are also guilty of. None of this requires some giant paradigm shift on our part. We're a lot better off than we'd like to admit. Is it Beverly Hills? No. The Bahamas? Also no. But it sure isn't another B word, bad. We live in a city filled with quirks and oddities like no other. It is a place where bizarre and strangely beautiful things happen. The ever-enduring, but nowhere near typical Shamokin. Thank you, everyone.